All right, I'm back again. Let's see if everything's working correctly. Okay. All right. Oops, sorry, there's some background feedback noise. Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure everything's working. I've never done this intensive a setup before. How do I get... You know what? I think it's okay. It's done. Just check something. Okay. Everything should be working now. So I'm just going to get started. Hey, thanks for joining. As you can see, I'm trying something a little different. I hope it's not too crazy. Okay. So last night, I was getting back into live streaming and started sculpting this puffer fish. And tonight I'm just going to keep going at it, refining some of the details. I've decided to stick with this sort of cartoony look. So it's not like super realistic. But that's okay. I just kind of like the way it looks this way. So now I'm just sort of like rounding out the mouth, trying to define that like sort of pucker fish like lip. And I've cranked up my wax pen to a pretty high temperature. For is he supposed to just be a lipofish or does he have a scoop? I was thinking about that. Thank you for knowing about my tops. I'm a little surprised when people know about those. But I do want to give him a gimmick. Or her, a gimmick. But I haven't figured out what the gimmick is yet. It might be a little too late to figure out the gimmick just because it's already kind of like solid. But then again, that's how I figured out the gimmick for my tops. It just happened, so we'll see. If you have any suggestions or ideas of things I can try, definitely feel free to let me know. Because crowdsourcing ideas is always fun as well. And that's the whole point of me live streaming, is to try to make this as fun for as me and for you guys as well. I thought about maybe making like a piggy bank, but like a with a pufferfish. So that it's like spiky, right? And you don't want to touch it. So it's like, although that might backfire because then you might not want to like go near and put money in there. But like, say you had like a bunch of money in there and it's like all spiky. It's like you look at it and you're like, oh, I don't want to touch that. It's like it's very sharp and I don't want to like prick myself on it. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll figure something out. But for now, I'm just gonna focus on the sculpt and just sort of getting it to a more aesthetically pleasing state. Because right now, this is a very, very rough sculpt. Uh, and I really want to see like how I can play with sort of like fish skin textures. Because I've never really sculpted fish scales. And I don't think pufferfish really... They might have scales, but it's not the same, I guess. Like, I've looked at reference photos and their skin is more like prickly, which makes sense because they're they got all these spikes on them. So I'm figuring out how I'm gonna emulate that texture, and I'm thinking of maybe using like a rough sponge, like heating up the surface of the sculpt, and then pressing that rough sponge all over it, just to sort of imprint that like sort of raw texture. In fact, let me try that right now. Put that down. I'm gonna play with some fire. Okay, fire. Uh, so all I'm doing here is I'm just gonna heat up the. Let's heat up here because that's a little bit easier. Oh, you know what? That's an even better idea. Do I have a piece? I do have a piece. Okay, so this is just like a. I think the tail is maybe the main source of texture besides spikes. Yes, that is very true. Actually, it's a good idea. I'm starting with the tail then. But yeah, I'm gonna use this piece of fine sanding sponge. Well, this is not fine. This is medium grit. So I don't know if you can tell. Focus. There we go. It's very, very coarse actually for medium. But I'm just gonna sort of lightly pass this over the flame. See that? It's like passing over. I'm not spending too much time because I don't want to burn the sponge. And I'm just gonna like give it some roughness. And this is also good for just smoothing out the surface of wax, because wax is a very hard material to sculpt with, so you really do need to apply heat. But it's kind of hard to like it's hard to apply a consistent amount of heat without melting it too far. So this technique is really good because you're just basically like it's almost like you're brushing heat all over it, and this causes it to melt. So right now I'm getting it like I'm just trying to get everything to a more smoother state. It's gonna be rough at first, but then I'll go in with a finer grit sanding sponge and just brush against the surface until I get rid of all like those little is that focused? You can see like that little pock mark where the rest of it is kind of like raised. I want to get rid of those. Getting better. Yeah. Now I'm just gonna go and start doing like all around. Where should I put this so it's not in the way? Like there? Okay, looks better. So you can kind of see it actually is starting to get like kind of a cool texture. But it still has like those streaks, which I don't want because that doesn't look natural. Like I think what I want is maybe just like a, oh, that's actually working better. Let me try this. Oh, that's perfect. I think that's great. Okay, I'm gonna do that, but first I'm gonna go in and just sort of smooth everything as much as I can, and then I'll go back and I'll do this texture because I don't know if you can tell, but that has like a nice sort of prickly look that I want. So let me try that first. And I thought about adding more spikes because they have a ton of spikes, but I think that might be, like, I kind of like this sort of geometric uh, simplicity of this, where it just looks like a spike ball or something, or like a star. Thank you. Yeah, I think that texture will work. Who knows? Maybe I'll go in and add more spikes later. For now, I just want to keep it simple and get like a basic sculpt done. Because you know, this is all about like just going with the flow. Because later down the road, I may think of a gimmick, or somebody will give me an idea for a gimmick, and I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool. But like, say I've already sculpted all this detail and stuff, and then it's gonna be kind of hard to go back and undo that. And like if I'm splitting it in half or something, then that's like a bunch of detail I have to fix. So I'd rather just get the whole thing to like a rough sort of finished state first, look at it, and then see where I want to take it. Because you can always add more detail later. It's just it's a pain to have to like erase detail and then add it again. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try to hold him in a way that like it's more visible because I think it's hard to see what I'm doing. Yeah, that's better. Sorry, I'm still new to this uh live streaming space. I'm trying to like figure out the format of my live streams. So this is very, very early days. Okay, yeah. I think I need to go in there and like, I could keep doing this forever, but I think it'd be better to just go in there with my wax pen. So hold on. Blow that out. Don't want to cause any fires. My cat. Oh. Toy design, would you say it's iterative design? Also, your live streaming is great. No issues. Oh, thank you. Yeah, if there's any issues, it might be like my settings and stuff like that, which I'm still learning. But thank you. I really appreciate that. It's taking me like forever to get this whole set up. Um, iterative design. Yeah, I definitely would because you know, toy design is really about play, right? So you may have this like I've done this plenty of times, but so say you have like an idea for a toy, and you think like the mechanic or the gimmick that it has is really great, but when you actually go and like test it out, you realize, oh, this is either not fun, or it could be more fun if you did, you know, X, Y, or Z. So it's definitely an iterative process unless you like hit home run on the first try, which is usually not what happens, right? Usually we get inspired just in the moment, and that leads to something. So that's why I've decided, like in the beginning when I tried to come up with ideas, I thought I had to like come up with the whole gimmick or mechanic from the very beginning, right? Because I was trying to like emulate how I created the rock paper scissors tops. I was like, oh, that's such a cool idea. Like, let me start with trying to figure out a cool toy mechanic or gimmick, um, and then from there I'll be able to figure out what it is I want to make. But see, there's the problem is that when you're so focused on like that portion, it's just not natural because you're just like forcing out the idea, right? You start thinking like, oh, well, what's worked for me so far? The tops, okay, like what can I do that's similar to the tops, right? And then you get stuck in like one uh sort of tunnel vision of like that vein of thoughts where it's like, oh, I have to make it playful. I have to make it like this kinetic feature thing, right? When it doesn't like necessarily have to be. So it's really important that you don't get too locked into an idea in the beginning and just have fun with it. So again, that's why I decided that from now on, whenever I start sculpting or come up with ideas, I'm just gonna take something that's really basic, like something that just seems really mundane, or maybe something that maybe is a little interesting but not like super interesting at first. So I decided like a fish, and then I picked a puffer fish just because I don't know, I like the spikes. Um, and from there, I'll see like where that takes me. Um, so yeah, I think it's just you just work in stages, basically. The wax whiz. Ah, thank you. I don't know about that. There's a lot of really interesting wax sculptors out there that I've not really had the time to check out. But yeah, I don't. It's just like always funny to me because we live in this like day and age where there's so many different tools at your disposal, and here I am still using like wax. But then again, you could say the same about any medium, right? Uh, I don't know. I don't meet a lot of other like sculptors who use wax, and I think it's just because it's harder material to use, and the amount of first of all, there's also like a financial investment, right? Because like you need certain tools to work with wax that you can't really use with clay, because you need to be able to heat up the wax. So you would need to invest in like a basic alcohol torch, like this one, which is actually pretty cheap. But then you have to keep filling it up with denatured alcohol, which is it's not that it's expensive, but it's like a whole trip to like the hardware store, and then you know it's like it's just harder and more unaccessible. And then there's like the fire element, which is a little bit more dangerous. So like usually parents are probably not like going crazy about wax and like, hey kids, uh instead of using this nice safe like clay that you don't need any fire around, why don't you use wax and just like go crazy. um so yeah, but yeah, anyway, that was a really good question, Lapis Lou, about the whole like toy design and iterative design process. I just went on a tangent there, but it really got me thinking like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm like sculpting something that maybe like 5 years ago I wouldn't think is interesting, right? Like I would just think, oh, a fish. Well, that's not interesting. I have to come up with a toy, like a playful thing. But it's like no. It's like when you're a kid, you don't like toy commercials on TV, like if you're like a 2-year-old or something, like maybe you watch it, but I don't think you really understand what the toy does, right? Because as soon as you get the toy, like if you ever see like kids playing with stuff, they never play with it the way that you think it's supposed to be played with, right? How many times have you like had a Lego set and didn't follow the instructions, right? And I think that's like the great thing about toy design is like, yeah, you might design something a certain way, but like I've seen people take like, for instance, my tops, and they'll just like play with them in different ways. Like a sumo battle where they just like knock the tops against each other, don't even spin them, just like throw them at each other. I don't know, maybe those are some violent kids I saw, but I was like, okay, like just because it looks like a top doesn't mean people are going to use it like a top. So there's always like you got to keep that in mind. Um, so yeah, what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to like do like a like fill in any gaps that are going to be harder to reach with my sanding sponge. There are ways to reach in there with like you could like tape the sponge to like the end of like a skewer or a stick, and then use it to like brush in there, sort of like a really rough Q-tip that you never want to use on yourself. But anyway, I'm just gonna go in here and get all those like little crevices and try to smooth it out, and then I'm gonna go back with sanding sponge. And I've decided I'm not gonna add too much detail. I'm gonna focus more on the shape and the texture, and then maybe think of a gimmick or be inspired by something you guys say. But for right now, I got nothing. So what you are saying about the way consumers play with toys being different, exactly what Mattel went with to make He-Man. Ah, yes. Can you enlighten me a little bit more about that? I think I know like the story, but I don't remember if I remember it exactly. Sorry, I know I'm like underwater, but I needed a water break. They did market research and found kids wanted the power to decide how to play, and they literally were saying, I have the power. Oh, I see. That's really interesting that kids would say that. Like, I want to decide how to play. And I think that's why He-Man is such a great property. Um, like, it's been around for forever. The toys are amazing. And I think I remember hearing somewhere that, like, that gigantic, like, tiger thing that he rides. Sorry, I don't really know my He-Man uh, facts. But, like, it's so big because when they went to produce the toy, they wanted him to like ride like a tiger figure, and they just happened to be working on this other separate like figure that was like a tiger or something, and it wasn't like it wasn't the same scale, you know, because it was designed for something else. But they were like, wow, it's like humongous, but it looks like mega cool, and then they just went with it. And I think that was like awesome that they were just like literally like, you know what, just do it, just wing it, um, and it worked. I see. Yeah. I feel like nowadays, I mean, I'm not really in the toy industry. If I was, I'd be like working for like Mattel or Toys R Us. Oh wait, I guess they're not really around anymore. I mean, they're still kind of around, but like if I was working for like a toy company today, I don't know how it would feel. I probably wouldn't enjoy as much. It depends though, like maybe you like that kind of stuff, but I feel like a lot of it now is just a numbers game. Like which it is because, you know, it's a business. They got to run a business. They got to make money. They got to pay their employees. They got to, you know, support the business. Excuse me. But I don't know if they really like all these like new toys and stuff they come up with, the ideas. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old and jaded, but I just don't see them as like that fun. Everything just seems like a rehash of like the old stuff, but like thrown in with like, and now you can connect it with an app. Like I guess I mean, there's like brands like Nerf, like Transformers, stuff like that, you know, that's still around. Lego, of course. And it's just like you can't really go wrong with that tried and true stuff. Um, but like in terms of like stuff with like a interesting play mechanic or a gimmick, I don't know. I feel like the best stuff actually comes out of what's that company? Kinder Egg. They make like really cool like toys that just have very interesting mechanics, and they fit inside a tiny like chocolate egg. They're also interesting. I had one that was like a freaking roulette machine, like a slot machine. I'm like, how the heck did you fit that inside a chocolate egg? But they figured it out. Like, I would love to like have gotten my foot in the door with those guys. See what I could come up with for them. I found kids on multiple games. Yeah. And then about that thing you said earlier, yeah, you definitely do want to learn as much as you can, but definitely don't get like too focused on making toys. Like I do this more as a hobby, and I found that I enjoy it more like that. Um, I've gone to like conventions and I've gone to like gallery shows and stuff, um, and it might just be that I am a more introverted person, but it's hard for me to put like a price tag on my work because at the end of the day, like I just want like people to have fun with it. So like I will often do things at these conventions where like, oh hey, like come try my toy out, and if you beat me at rock paper scissors with my spinning tops, then you get to keep one of your choice for free. So like I often give out like more stuff than I actually sell, which is a very like I'm a very terrible business person for that. Um, But if you want to just like create stuff and have fun with it, definitely go do that, like whatever it is. And I don't know, I just find personally like when I start thinking about the money aspect, like, oh, is this going to be marketable? How commercial friendly is this? You know, is this going to sell well? I just like hit a really hard brick wall and I just like stop being creative and I just start thinking about like it has to be this size so that, you know, I don't use this much material and I can save on costs, you know, or, you know, whatever. I just start thinking about questions like that and that just makes the whole process like it just sucks the joy out of it for me. But maybe you've already realized that I mean, you might be fine with that, but maybe you're like me and you realize like that kind of kills your creativity. Um, so the things I guess I could suggest to learn are just like if you're not sure what medium you like first, figure out like do you like clay? Do you like wax? Do you like paper mache? Do you, you know, do you like doing traditional sculpting or do you like doing digital sculpting? Because both have their values and merits, you know? Um, or combining them both, like just experimenting. So yeah, it definitely is all about like just learning as much as you can. Like making cell toys, I think will work at your day job. Yes, I agree. Excuse me. Sorry, I have like something in my throat. With Battle Cat. Ah, the name was Battle Cat. I forgot. You're running low on funds for tooling, so you just. Yes. Ah, yes, I remember now. That is hilarious. That they were just like, whatever. We got this tooling. Let's just use this. Like that's what's so cool to me about the toy industry, or at least you know the stuff that was going on back then, because they were really just like focused more on like how to make it fun versus like you know like they really cared like what the kids thought and um if they were actually gonna like play with them. And not just to like because you know they're worried about selling, but I think they really cared about making things fun. Because they didn't have to go and like add all these accessories and add all these like add-ons and do like other stuff like make comic books for the characters and TV shows and like they really like brought these properties to life. And that's what makes the toys so fun is that there's a whole story to them. Excuse me. I really have something in my throat. Should have sculpted a frog or something. Oh, thank you. Yeah, for me it was designer toys as well. Yeah, me too. You know, I'm doing this wax, but every now and then I go back to like 3D modeling. Then I switch back. I get tired of 3D modeling, and I go back to this. So now I'm doing this hybrid where uh, it looks like I'm using a computer program, but I'm doing it in real life. So it's really cool, and I love the toys you make. Okay. Thank you, Cartoon Squid. That's really meaningful to me. I'll be honest with you guys. I've like if you've been following me for a while, you know that I disappear for like years sometimes. And that's just because this is a hobby for me, and I'm like really busy with other stuff outside. Um, but I figured, you know what, if I can spend just like 30 minutes a day doing this, an hour, um, just doing a little bit every day, I think that's enough for me. And I get a lot of cool insight and ideas from you guys too. Hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna try to start streaming earlier as well, but I don't know, maybe like do you guys like what time is it where you guys are? Not like I'm trying to stalk you or anything, but like I feel bad I'm doing these like really late night and I'm keeping you guys awake. But it just happens to be that like this is the only free time I have right now. because for me it's like midnight here. Yeah, it's all about just like staying healthy, like having a healthy hobby, healthy habits, getting enough sleep, eating enough and eating the right stuff. Um, a little exercise can do you no harm, right? 'Cause it's bad when you get so obsessed into your hobby that it just takes over, and then you like feel like everything else around you is like boring, which it shouldn't be, because life is not boring. There's so much going on all the time, even if you're just stuck. I mean, if you're stuck at a really like I've worked customer service, and oh my god, that was like the worst job I ever had. Um, but if even in that scenario, like I found ways to like sometimes, you know, you just get like more life experience that way, and you think like, oh, it's like a really rut spot I'm in right now, but one day this is gonna like help me deal with like stuff that's coming down the road. And I think that the reason why I enjoy toy design and stuff like that is just because, for one thing, right? I don't think anyone can really hate toys. Like there might be people out there who's like, oh, you still play with toys, like you need to grow up, right? There's people who say things like that. But if you think about it, anything can be a toy, right? And as you get older, you just start like there are new things that you find interest in, and like you start collecting different things. So there's always something. Like a toy is just something that brings you joy. Oh, toy joy. Toy rhymes with joy. Um, I mean, a painting could be a toy if you think about it, and a toy could be a painting. Everything's connected. Okay, 10 p.m. Yeah, I know I'm like my timing is probably good for people like in like the West. Uh, I haven't looked at like, you know, am I ranking better in the West on the West Coast or the East Coast or, Central Time or somewhere around the and on another country. But yeah, this time just works for me because I try to get everything I need to get done in the day so that at the end of the day, I can just unwind and do this and not have to think about anything else after this. Because when I have other stuff on my mind, it's like really hard to focus. I'm not a good multitasker. Oh man, I just realized I've just been like doing this for a while, not really thinking about what I'm doing. But that's like the fun part of it is that like I'm not like really focused right now. I'm just sort of on autopilot. And I think that's good because like for me, being focused 100% of the time is not good because like then I get tunnel vision or I just like get burnt out. Sometimes I just need to do something where I'm not really thinking too much. And I'm just like moving my hands. I'm just like firing synapses, you know what I mean? Um, just kind of like relaxing my brain and my nervous system right before I go to bed. And there's something really satisfying about like how wax feels when you're sculpting it because it's not like clay, right? Like with clay, it's almost like clay is nice too, but it's like so buttery that you almost like it's too squishy to me. I don't know. I like how wax feels as it's like smoothing out. It's like that feeling where you just oh yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting weird now. Hey everyone. Hi Delaire. Delare? Delare? I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. 12 on the East Coast here. Yes, I am also on the East Coast. Sorry about that. I really was trying to start earlier tonight, but I can't tell you how much trouble I had getting all these like green screens set up. I know I didn't have to do it, but I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm just gonna do it. And since I'm sculpting a fish, I might as well do it underwater. I'll probably be here for like until 1 a.m. my time, so like another 40 minutes or so. Again, I'm just trying to get into this mindset of like, even if I can't put out like a ton of like really well edited content, because I just don't have the time to like script and stuff like that, if I can just come on to this platform and just like do a little bit every now and then, answer any questions you guys might have, just make myself like almost like a, if any of you are in college, like a open or just work, I guess, like an open Zoom office. You just come in, welcome to my office, come in my door, you know. What's on your mind? Thank you. I tried really hard on this setup. If you can see, these are all live. So this is my electric skillet with melted wax, my wax pen with the settings, so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm at 465 degrees Fahrenheit. Oops, hit the camera a little bit just then. And then I have my tools. All my tools that I don't, like I use maybe one or two of these, really. I got some as gifts, and I bought others, and I was like, you know, I don't even really need all of these. You can do so much with very little. I heard from retired toy designers they use clay and wax to make figures, clay to make the general shape. Yes, that is very true. Um, yeah, honestly, like I probably could have made this in clay way quicker, like maybe 30 minutes. Um, but since I'm starting with wax, it's taken me like 2 hours basically. Um, oops, I just dropped something. I'll worry about that later. Um, but the reason I just start with wax is because like when you start with clay, then you have to make a mold, and then you know that's like a whole process, right? That's like depending on the kind of silicone you use, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be a whole day, and then you got to remove the mold, then cast it in wax, and then go from there. But if you like doing that, that's fine, because some people want to have like a mold of like the base object so that they can go back, make like different iterations of it, right? Um, but for me, I just like when I first started using CX5, which is the clay wax hybrid material from Adam Bean. I was like, this stuff's amazing because it's like flexible when it's hot, and yeah, it's hard to use, but like the amount of time it would take to like make a mold and cast and everything, it's about the same amount of time as it would take me to just start from scratch with the wax. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start with wax. Materials are very expensive, yes. And when they're cheap, like I don't trust them. You know, it's almost like I want to be able to buy the good stuff so I know I'm using like good quality stuff. Because who knows what they're putting in this these like Amazon mold making kits from all these like new companies that I don't know of because I only know like Smooth On or what's that other one? Illuminate, I think. Um, yeah, okay, I've been spending way too much time doing that. So I think I'm just gonna move on and start doing some texturing again. Sorry for like that's a weird artifact. I think it's because it's catching the reflection of my green screen, turning it invisible. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, my setup isn't perfect yet, but I kind of like this like lo-fi, low quality look. Everything I make has like low tech, high tech kind of feeling to it. Did you end up figuring out a formula for smoothing relics? Uh, I have, and it's actually not even a formula. I'm so dumb. I didn't realize you can just buy this stuff. I actually found out about this through the Monster Clay website. Monster Clay is like one of the biggest like suppliers of mold making. I mean, not mold making. Uh, like clay and wax material. If you don't know, but you guys probably know because you're into this stuff. And they sell this stuff on their site to smooth their wax slash clay, and it's called isopropyl myricate. I don't really know like chemically what it is, but it's apparently 100% organic. Now I know that can mean a lot of things, but I believe that means that it's like pretty non-toxic because they use it as like makeup remover too. So like for like facial prosthetics for like movies and practical effects and stuff. I guess they use this stuff to dissolve like all the prosthetics that they put on. But yeah, you can just buy. Oh wait, why don't I show it here? Whoa, that's weird. Uh, Isopropyl myricate. I just got this off Amazon, but basically you can just buy this as is. You don't need to do anything to it, and you just brush it on, and it'll basically dissolve and smooth the wax sculpt. But I would only use a little bit because it is a little aggressive. You could probably dilute this with something like, I'm gonna say distilled water, but I could be wrong about that. But you have to be careful with this because it's isopropyl, so I'm assuming it's flammable. So definitely don't work with it near like an open flame. But yeah, you can just buy this stuff. I got this like it's pretty cheap too. You can buy a ton of it. Um, and it should be available pretty much anywhere. So yeah, I had this whole plan. I was gonna like make this smoothing solvent, and the name was gonna be Elixir. It's just like Relix, but like if you move the R to the end of the word, and it's like Elixir. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then I was researching the crap out of like natural smoothing solvents and stuff. So I was looking at like something called lavender spike oil, which is like harvested from lavender. But I bought like a bottle of this stuff, and it was so like potent because they use this in like perfumes and candles and stuff like that for scents. I was like, I don't ever want to work with this stuff because I need to wear like a whole hazmat suit or something. So I was gonna like mix that with like something else called witch hazel, which I know sounds like some crazy medieval uh substance, like something that's not even real. But like you can buy stuff. I think it's used to like open up the pores on your face or something. I don't know, but it's some kind of extract from a plant called witch hazel, I believe, and it has this cool property where it acts as like a. And I could be wrong about this, so please correct me if I'm wrong about this. I don't really know much about chemistry, but it kind of acts as like what's the word I'm looking for? Solubilizer. Basically, it makes it so you can dissolve the lavender spike oil because it's oil and dissolve it with like something else like distilled water. Because oil and water don't mix, but the witch hazel has properties that helps them combine or something. Anyway, I had this like whole formula for elixir. I was like, this is gonna be amazing. And then I found out about isopropyl myricate. I was like, oh. So I'm just gonna tell people don't bother trying to like come up with some crazy formula. Just buy the isopropyl myricate. And that's like my whole new approach to Relix now is like. And it kind of reminds me of how Kingdom Hearts writers only switch like a letter and name a new character. Oh, do they do that? I don't even know. Because like honestly, I didn't really play Kingdom Hearts growing up. I didn't play a lot of games growing up. I don't think my parents believed in PlayStations or stuff like that. Um, which is probably why I spent so much time making my own toys. Um, but anyway, that is funny that they do that. What's an example of like a character's name where they did that? Dude, all those cheap modeling making kits are so bad. The silicone's back on resin is never. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's probably not good for you either. Like if you get on your skin or breathe it in. Probably like got all these contaminants or additives to make it cheaper. So yeah, I really only trust Smooth On for my stuff. It's also just more accessible for me. Like I don't buy it from Amazon. There's this great sculpture supply store where I live. I'm in New York City, so in Manhattan, there's this store called the Complete Sculptor, and if you're ever there, it's like an amazing shop. But I haven't been there since like before COVID. But the last time I went was actually like the first time that they opened up their store in that location because previously they were like somewhere else, and then they expanded to this new location that was like huge, and they had built like this this glass room where they could hold live sculpting sessions and have like workshops and show people how to do stuff. And that was really cool to see. I hope they're doing well. I haven't been. I should probably visit there at some point. I just like just so busy. So what I'm doing now is I'm basically just sorry, excuse me. There's a lot of bubbles underwater, so forgive me if I burp every now and then. Roxas? What is the anagram for Sora, but with a C thrown in there? Ah, I see. I see. Yeah, but that's kind of cool, right? Like you don't have to be complicated. Cool things can just be very simple. Like it's just um. Cool. I think this is the first time that I've like filmed like in real time a sculpture from start to finish. Because last night was when I first started working on this guy from like scratch. So this will be interesting to see the progression because I tend to take really long to sculpt anything, or if I'm like really rushing it, I don't really like know what I'm doing. But this way, I'll have like a complete record of where everything went wrong and went right. No, there is no wrong or right. Okay, I can't even say that word. Right, wrong, or right. Yeah, I thought I was gonna start streaming on like Twitch, but it was like a whole other platform. Like I'm just too, to be frank, I'm just too old at this point. There's like all these new platforms coming all the time. Like I still haven't used TikTok. I barely use Instagram anymore. Um, so I decided, I'm just gonna stay on YouTube because that's where most of my followers are. And I don't want to leave you guys hanging. And I just feel like, I mean, I don't know much about it, but I feel like the way Twitch's algorithm works is like better for people who already have like a big following. So it's harder for new creators to get started on there. Um, Not that I'm doing this for the numbers, but it kind of sucks when you're just streaming and there's only like two people in the stream. But actually, when we first started, it was just Lapis Lou on the stream, and we were having some really good vibes here. So thank you for being the first one here, Lapis Lou. Yeah, prices have gone way up on Amazon, and I think that's just due to like stock shortage. Like everything is logistically harder to get now, probably because and I only know about this because I had worked at a company that bought direct like products from Smooth On, and one time, oh sorry, no, this is wrong. We we had bought we had bought no, we had something manufactured and it was coming from China. For some reason, they couldn't deliver it to us, and we had to go like pick it up at the airport from like where all the like freight stuff is like received. I didn't go, but my coworker told me that when they went, they saw like a bunch of pallets filled with like smooth on tubs, just like gallons, like 5 gallon buckets of smooth on. I don't know where they came from. Maybe, uh, but I don't know, like because the stuff we were getting was from like China, and they saw that stuff near there. So I'm like, maybe that stuff came from China. Like I don't know where does smooth on manufacture. Do they? I don't keep up with this kind of stuff. All I'm saying is, if we get smooth on from China, that would explain why it's so much more expensive to get. 'Cause everything is harder to get right now when you're importing it from another country. Super Sculpt is super expensive unless you get it on a store, which is hard to... Ah, dang, that sucks. Well, that's the whole reason I decided to make this formula, right? Because most of the ingredients, I mean, they're still kind of expensive, right? Because they're like natural waxes. But if you buy like all of them at once and just mix them together, that's like so so much more material than the cost of like buying it from a manufacturer. Like from me, like I'll tell you guys right now, like the amount of money it costs me to produce a pound of wax is somewhere around $4. But because of packing, shipping, labor, like taxes, all this other like hidden like fees and stuff, I have to charge people like 20 to 30 bucks for this stuff, which I feel terrible about. Which is like also like I don't like there are a lot of people interested in buying the wax, and there have been a lot of people who bought it before, but it wasn't enough to make the business like sustainable. So I decided, you know what, I'm just like not even gonna worry about making this stuff anymore. The formula's out there, people can figure out how to make it, and I'm just gonna focus on using this stuff. Because I already spent like a year trying to figure out how to make it. So I apologize to anyone who wasn't able to buy any when I was still producing this stuff for sale. I just don't have the time for it anymore. I'm actually like I've I don't know if I should say it. Okay, yeah, it's fine. I'm actually going back to school and learning some new line of work. But I'm also working like pretty much full time. And so between school work and doing this as a hobby, I just won't like have time to produce relics for sale. Oh, thank you. Yes, I remember you did buy it from me. And I remember you would ask me questions about like the sanding sponges and stuff. I think that was you. Yeah, yeah. I'm just not a businessman. Where do I buy this? I usually get the materials from, there is a wax supplier here on the East Coast up in like, I think it's like Maine or Massachusetts. What's their name? I think they have like two different company names. One is Jedwards, Jedwards, Jedwards. But you can also look them up as like bulk natural oils or something. But I usually buy like Carnauba, Candelilla. I don't buy their beeswax because I bought their beeswax once, and that stuff was definitely not legit. Most like beeswax that's imported from other countries is not 100% pure beeswax. They usually have other additives or fillers in it, and it smells basically like paraffin, like a petrochemical wax. I mean a petroleum-based wax. So I was like, I can't be using this. So for the beeswax, I buy it from a local supplier. I say local, but it's just like here in the country. They're called Honey Lake, or Honeywell Bee Lake, something like that. Honey Lake. I haven't bought from them in a while, so I can't remember the exact name. Honey Lake or Honey Bee Lake, and they sell like some of the best beeswax I've ever gotten, and it's pretty affordable as well. Um, what else do I buy? Pigments, I usually buy from either Earth Pigments or Kremer. Kremer is a bit expensive, but they have a store here in New York City, so it's like it's kind of easier for me. But you can buy pigments almost anywhere. Like pigments are not hard to get. It's the waxes that are harder. Like I've had people tell me they can't get Carnauba or Candelilla in their country, and I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense because this stuff comes from your country. And they're like, yeah, well, it's because they like only like really allow it for export because that's where they make the most money. Selling it within the country doesn't make them that much money. I don't know. I heard something like this, I think. I'm like, this is wild to me. Like, that's insane that you can't buy the wax that's produced in your country. Like, what? Where did it all go wrong? How did that happen? I swear, like, money is like the worst thing. What am I doing here? I think I'm just like squishing it now. The mouth have a suction cup or have something you can hold in its mouth. That is a good idea. Yes, they do have a website. Which one? Jedwards? Well, they all have websites. The ones that I buy from. Earth Pigments, Kremer, Kremer. If you download my formula book, there should be links to all that stuff. I've left a link in the description of this video to my formula book. And in that formula book, I also put like a list of tools and things. I think I put links to where you can buy the stuff. I don't remember. Sorry, it's been a while. Wait, I have a copy right here. Which one is this? Beginner formula book. Okay. I just realized this is a paper copy, not the PDF copy that has the links hyperlinked. I'm so dumb. I'm pretty sure the PDF copy has like hyperlinked text that you can just click on. Yes, capitalism. I do. Okay, going back. Lapis Lazuli. Yes, suction cup or have something you can hold in its mouth. I was thinking about that. Because the mouth is like very obvious, right? So the good thing about this is because of the spikes, it can kind of like stand in like any orientation on its spikes. So maybe there's something to that, and then that way we can like orient it to make it easier to hold stuff. Like hold it straight up or hold it like this. I don't know. I mean, the mouth isn't that big. But maybe it could be like a ring. I don't know. Oh, I did link the websites. Thank you for reminding me. Are you still trying to make 3D printable relics? I was trying to, but honestly, I'd have to like, that's a whole process, right? That I just don't have the funds for, honestly. Like I'd have to invest in filament production equipment, which I have like no idea how to use. I'd have to spend time learning how to do that. My easiest solution to a 3D printable filament, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, but there is a type of 3D printing filament that is water soluble. Like it's meant as a support filament, so you can print like your main object, and if you have like two extruders, you can have the second extruder print the support filament, which is water soluble. And then all you do is you just put in water and all the support filament dissolves. So I had this idea, like what if you just printed a mold? Like you designed the object in 3D, then you created a mold of it in 3D and just printed the mold out of the PVA. Yeah, print it out of PVA or any other like water soluble filament, and then pour the wax in there, and then just I think I have an example of something I did that with. Where did I put it? I still have it. I might not have it anymore. One of these days I will do an experiment, show you guys what I'm talking about. Darn, I thought I still had it. But it actually worked. It's just the hard part is printing with PVA because that stuff isn't really meant to be used as like your main printing filament material. So the whole thing was like very stringy. I probably could have fine-tuned my settings more, but it's also just very PVA filament is just very susceptible to moisture in the air, so uh, it's like you got to use it quick or else it's not going to last. But it worked. Like I was able to print out the thing, I poured wax in there, and then I was able to dissolve that stuff overnight. Um, and then I just like did some fine sanding on it just to make it smooth, and it was like amazing. Yeah. Yes, I think I did see that video from Craftsman. That guy's so cool. He makes like such cool stuff. And just a all around general nice guy. I've spent like forever doing this, but it's kind of getting there. I mean, wax is a very slow material to work with, and I'm not like in a rush. I'm just enjoying the process and talking to you guys. So from here, what I want to do. I'm going to go back to my wax pen and start filling in some gaps again. So it's like a cycle of things that I'm doing. I'll probably go back to like smoothing again at some point. Also, I just realized that pufferfish, their faces are like actually higher up. Like mine's kind of centered, but their faces are usually higher up. And like the bulk of like their expanded like bodies is like, it looks more like lower. While like the spine and like the tail are higher up. So mine's definitely not anatomically correct, but I'm just sort of like going with the flow. I'm not trying to make it super realistic. Thanks. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing, honestly. Okay, so let me go back and think about the gimmick. So somebody mentioned, Lapis Lou mentioned we could try like making the mouth a gimmick where like it opens or holds something. Pufferfish. Well, they're poisonous, right? Poisonous. Pufferfish are poisonous, so it's like not that I want to make it like spit poison. Yes, that is very true. Just a cycle. I don't know. I need to look at a reference photo. Let me pull up a pufferfish. Okay, I see. So the eyes are more like that, and then the mouth is actually not really round. It's more like, oh no, it is kind of round in that picture. Man, these things look so different from picture to picture. Oof. I definitely would never want to come across one of these in real life. It's funny, they have almost like an evil grin sometimes. I might try that. Like make this more like a U shape than just an oval. Actually, I like that more because now it looks like it's laughing. Haha. Yes. I think I've seen that video. It sounds very familiar. Yeah, maybe there could be like a companion part to this. Like a companion sculpt. I don't know, are pufferfish like, do they have any symbiotic relationships with other creatures in the sea? I don't know. Or maybe I could make like a nesting doll where it's like, you ever see I think it was like Star Wars Episode 1. What a terrible idea. But anyway, there's like when they're underwater and there's like this the fish and it gets eaten by this bigger fish. I could make like a whole bunch of like fishes with like different size just eating each other. No, I should think simpler. This is my problem. I always like come up with some crazy idea. Or not crazy, just too time consuming to actually like execute. And then I like lose interest halfway. But maybe I could just make a carrot. But I don't know. Just holding a carrot might not be that interesting. No. I'm gonna add some material into my Relix. So just a quick tip, if you're ever like, so I have this Relix sitting in an electric skillet, just basically used to like just do portable cooking. And you really only want to put like maybe a quarter of an inch to a half an inch, or for people who use metric, which is of course the better unit of measurement, somewhere around 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters. Like you want to go up that high inside your skillet because any higher than that, the wax will just be too thick to heat evenly, and all that heat will just stay at the bottom and the top will be like pretty hard. So you see how like right now this has almost a creamy look. If I had filled this up with a ton of wax, it probably would still be very hard and not like mousse like this. And I think the temperature, what's the temperature? Yeah, I'm getting a reading of about 145. Oh, sorry. Yeah, somewhere around 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So that seems to be a good temperature to keep your wax at, to keep it at like almost liquid state, but still like malleable like this. So 150 is good. There's always a bigger fish. Yes, there always is. Maybe we can work that in somehow. Like maybe we don't have to be so literal with the idea and make like a whole actual fish. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing, but there's like little scuffs of stuff here. If I turned off my background, you'd see like it's just a bunch of green tape. Um, different add different add-ons and connect them to the sculpt with a magnet. Ah, that could be interesting, right? Like, oh my god, that's genius because it's like a pufferfish, but he keeps getting stuck to different things. That's actually hilarious. And then that works with the whole idea of like holding stuff as well, right? Because he's like sticking into them. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. How would I do that? Like would the spikes be removable and like you could swap them out for like other things? So it's funny you mentioned that because I've actually been working on this other sculpt for a while. Thanks, I'm glad to be back. Woken. Giant. Um, so this is another sculpt I've been working on, which is basically that idea. Um, if you know my Rocky figure, this is the same thing where it can balance on each of the limbs. But what I've done is I've embedded magnets into the wax at all the joints. See that? And that's the great thing about wax is that you can do this kind of thing. Um, I know. I've just been like really stuck with this idea because I don't know how to go from here. Like, do I want to texture the surface and make it look more like a stone thing, or do I want to like add like actual detail? Because I don't know if you can tell, but each limb is like a different animal. Like this, the head is like a bird face, but I decided to just put like eyes in this inside, like it's more like a person wearing a mask. Then the body is definitely like a bird thing with the wings. And then the snake arm, we got like a bear claw or tiger claw. I don't know. Okay, we'll say battle cat claw for He-Man. And then like a falcon leg, and then like a uh monkey fist, ape fist. And the idea is that so like he can balance on each limb. It's kind of hard to see from that angle, but he is standing, and like it took me forever to get this balance right. That's why I'm like really careful about how much detail I'm adding to him, because that'll throw off the balance just ever so slightly. So he can do that. But the problem, I mean, not the problem, but the other thing he can do is when you get bored of looking at him that way, you can then like make him do all kinds of other weird stuff. Yes, that was the goal, is that I was gonna like keep coming up with different like add-on parts. So like this is like, what is this now, right? It's like, what the heck? But it still stands. I'm surprised it still stands. I thought like the balance would be completely off. Oh god. Now I don't remember what it looked like. And the cool thing is, you know, you can turn everything. Oh, it looks like I cracked and chipped it. So that's the other thing, wax. It's not super durable, so it looks like something chipped right there, but that's okay, I can fix that. But the problem with this idea is that I didn't know how to like mass produce this, because I could make a mold, but I don't think it's gonna work, because there's gonna be so much cleanup. Like there's so much overhangs that you have to like clean up the mold parting lines. And then again, just resin casting, I'm just not doing much of that lately, or mold making. But I had this other idea, is that I'm gonna have this guy uh 3D scanned. So like basically take a picture at every single angle around it and then create like a 3D model from that. Um, but I haven't found like the right piece of software, or if I need to like invest in like some kind of actual device that like scans it. Because I know there's apps on your phone that can do it and stuff, but they don't offer like really great resolution, and there's a lot of like artifacts, like stray pixels and stuff like that. So I really want to do some research and find out the best way, or I'll just send it to some uh, company that like 3D scans things, and then they'll give me like a finished, like nice sculpt. Maybe I'll make that like a goal on my Patreon or something, if I ever get to that point. But for now, I'm just sort of focused on the sculpt. And basically, I'm just going to have it 3D scanned so that I can then share the 3D digital model to anyone who wants to just print it or have it printed. And then that way, you can just 3D print it and you don't have to worry about anything. Like 3D printing with resin is like super easy. All the supports come off. And then you can scale it up as big as you want, as small as you want. And then just glue in the magnets. And every month, like there'd be a new limb, or a new like set of limbs that you could like download and play with. So yeah, that was like my idea for this guy, but I haven't really figured everything out yet, so he's kind of on the back burner, but I do want to get back to him soon. Thanks, guys. Yeah. And that's the other thing, is like if I make it a digital model, then you guys can like download the models, or uh like have them printed from like a 3D printing service, and then you guys could sculpt your own attachments, and we could make this sort of like a crowdsourced like figure with all kinds of different add-ons, like an open source articulated figure. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, it basically just like has a never-ending like supply of different limbs you could stick on. Because like, why should I have all the fun? You know, like I just honestly, like I can't think of that many other things. But you guys are just already thinking of all these other stuff. Thanks, guys. Um, yeah, so that's an idea I have, but again, I need to figure out the right approach first, or I just gotta try it, fail, and then try a different approach until it works. That's probably what I'll do. Um, but I'm just like I'm not fully done with the sculpt yet. And I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll leave him like this because I kind of like how he looks. He's kind of like a weird old like Aztec sculpture. But I do want to add like some cool like embossed kind of details all over it. Like somebody went at it with a chisel and like chiseled like weird ancient runes all over him. So I'm thinking about doing that. Um, and then maybe then I'll call it done. And of course, like refining these edges because it's still kind of rough. I really wanted to have like a very sharp look. Yeah, I would want that. I would definitely want people to be able to sculpt the limbs and share them as well. Oh, pufferfish, they eat shellfish and crustaceans? That's crazy. How do they how do they like eat past the shell? Do they have teeth? I guess they might have teeth. Um yeah, anyway, put that back. Back to the pufferfish. Yeah, I do. Oh no, wax is getting too melty, but that's okay. I just gotta mix it until it's cooled down. Because usually with wax, there's like hot and cold zones, and you have to like knead them together and mix them really well so that they all become a uniform temperature. They have beaks? You tell me pufferfish have beaks? That's crazy. They're like squid then. Oh man, like underwater creatures are just so wild to me. Maybe that'll be like what I do from now on. I just sculpt really weird aquatic creatures. That's actually what I wanted to do as a kid. I had this book called like Ocean Life, I think it was called, and it just had all these like different animals in it. And I learned about like horseshoe crabs and oarfish, which are basically just like gigantic eels that like never surface. The only time we ever see them is when like they die and then you see like their bodies float up to the surface. But yeah, as a kid, I thought I was gonna like become an oceanographer or like not an oceanographer, like a marine biologist. And then I realized I'm actually afraid of the ocean. I'm not a strong swimmer, and I'm scared of what I can't see. And the ocean is just like this deep abyss. Um, so I don't know if anyone shares that fear, but I kind of like exploring the ocean from the comfort of my desk, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. Look at these fish behind me. They're so pretty. I don't know what kind of fish they are. Are they angelfish? No, not angelfish. I don't know. This is that like Windows XP background. Yeah, I feel very motivated now about that idea because it would be very easy for people to. Because something like the rock paper scissors tops, I've tried to show people how to make them, but I never really had a good way to like make it more open source. Because the only way I really figured out how to make them was through that one program that I use called Fusion 360. And that's like a whole thing for people to learn and then download and have access to and have a computer that can like run it, stuff like that. Although it's not that hard to run. But also just like I feel like 3D might like sorry, I just got like really focused on this. Um oh yeah, in case you hear like a loud beep, that's because my wax pen has this weird automatic timer where it shuts off after like an hour and a half to like prevent overheating or like just leaving it on and somebody burning themselves by accident. And it makes this really loud like siren beep sound, so I hope it doesn't go off. Or we'll use that as a cue to say like, okay, that's the end of the stream for tonight. Yes. Whales are crazy. Like that it's it's crazy because like they even used to have legs. So think about that. Whales used to have legs, which means that they were like on the land. They crawled off onto shore, hung out there for a bit, and then they went back to the ocean. And eventually, oh yep, there's that peep. Sorry. Okay, I don't think it'll beep again after it did it once. So that means that whales at some point were like on the land, crawling around, and then they were like, you know what, I like the ocean better. And then they lost their legs. That's just like, what the heck? Can you imagine whales just like on land, crawling around? Oh, that's actually, I should have made a whale and then have like a magnetic like leg attachment to give them back. Um, oh, that reminds me of this YouTube video I saw from Alan Pan. His channel's Sufficiently Advanced. He did this video where he gave a snake like a mech suit with like legs on it. It was like hilarious because the snake looks like it was actually enjoying like just having legs. Oh man. Yeah, it's like anytime you do anything where it's like limbs related, it gets really interesting, right? Like think about all the cool character designs. A lot of them have like multiple arms. Like there's that guy from Mortal Kombat, I forget his name, but he has like 6 arms. And then like octopus characters or like alien characters, they usually have a lot of arms. Or sometimes you remove a limb, and then give them like a robot arm or something. To be honest, I know this sounds terrible, but I always wish I had a robot arm. I always wanted to be a cyborg, and I was like, that'd be so cool. I think I just watched Inspector Gadget one too many times as a kid. Okay, the mouth is getting bigger and bigger, which is, I don't know, maybe that's a good thing? I know, right? The idea of giving snake legs back. For anyone who doesn't know about his channel, he's like super, really like, just comes up with the wildest ideas. And he's like one of the few people I'm actually like I follow. Just because I don't have a ton of time to watch YouTube videos anymore. And luckily, he doesn't post that often, so I don't feel spammed. But his content's pretty good. And he's like with this whole group of like engineering YouTubers that I follow. I mean, I know I do like this traditional sculpting stuff, but I am really interested in technology. Like I read about what's new in solar panel development. They're like testing this material called perovskite, which they've used in the past, but it wasn't like durable enough to withstand the elements. So it, even though it outperformed regular like silicon-based solar panels, it just wasn't as durable. But now they've like figured out a way to make it like more durable or use it as a coating on top of silicon solar panels. I don't know. But basically they've like it's like supposed to be like the next thing in solar. How did I get here? What am I talking about? Data floating the internet would be awesome. I think that would be cool, right? If we're just like data. But that kind of scares me as well. It's like, because if you upload your consciousness, are you still you? Or are you just like a clone of your mind and the actual you is now like forever gone? Or maybe your original you is also still out there, but now there's like a digital you also. But if they ever did figure out that technology, it'd be kind of amazing. Yeah. That's why I love Ghost in the Shell so much. Not the live action, but the original animated film. So it really asks a lot of cool questions, but it also gives you a really cool idea of like, what would the world be like if we had that ability? Like, there's people just minds getting wiped or having memories added. You can like hack people's eyes. What? Um. Wow. Okay. So I made some progress tonight. I do want to work on that gimmick idea with the magnets. Honestly, magnets just make everything better. But I'm just trying to think where to put the magnets. I guess the magnets could be in the spike area. So the spikes are like removable and they could like stick on different things. That actually would be kind of cool. But that means I have to remove the spikes, which is fine. I can do that. E Exerbia, who wrote a sci-fi book. Ooh, that sounds kind of cool. Oh man, that's such a good one. Life tip, eating magnets makes you attractive. But you could also say it makes you repulsive to the certain person. Yeah. Oh man. Um, I'm probably gonna sign off soon, just because it's getting late where I live, and I gotta wake up a little early tomorrow. But I'm glad I got some downtime to do this, because I almost didn't. Like, I just streamed yesterday night, and I was like, that was pretty fun, but like maybe I should take a break like every other day. But I think it's not that hard to just do a little bit every day and stay consistent and just take breaks when I actually need them. Because this is technically taking a break for me. Like just being able to sit here. Like I could have it so much worse right now. I could be, doing something that I don't really care about, um, and not having like a fulfilling day. But I get to like at the end of the day unwind and do this. So that's great. No matter how rough of a day you have, you should always end the day on a good note. Or maybe the magnet will just be in the mouth, so like you could just stick him on like different things. Or different things like it looks like he's eating the crustacean or the soft shell stuff. Yeah, I drink from a metal cup. I know. Mmm. Those are some tasty magnets. Oh god. I know their eyes don't look like actual like hard cylinders like this. I don't know. I just like chiseled looks. I like things that are have like hard edges on them for some reason. Oh, so if you can't tell what I'm doing on this side, I just have like this sponge that I like wipe on every now and then. And this is like a cellulose based sponge, like it's some organic type sponge thing because I didn't want to buy something that's just like plastic. So I don't feel bad when I have to eventually throw it away because it's covered in wax. them in between the spikes. Yeah, I think I could, but I would need pretty strong magnets then. Or I just need to have like objects that can fit with like in between those spikes. So like maybe like little fish, you know, like little skinnier fish that get like stuck to him. And he's just like swimming around with all these like little fish stuck to him. Um and then he just like snacks on them every now and then. He'll just like grab one from his back. So he looks like a crown on the. He does kind of look like he has a crown with the spikes on his head. So he's like King Puffer fish, something like that. I don't know. The eyes are a lot more even than when the stream started. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I like that he looks happy. This is a happy puffer fish going around. I'm gonna think more on that gimmick thing. Maybe tomorrow what I'll do, or the next time I stream, I will start removing the spikes and putting magnets in there so that they can then be removable. So you can make him like a friendly fish or give him like all this armor spikes. And then that'll be fun. I think that's my new thing. I'm the guy who sculpts things out of wax and connects things with magnets on them. Like that's my whole deal. But that's like easy, right? Like anyone can do that, which is great because then anyone can like sculpt their own attachment. And then if I have this 3D scanned and then share the file, they can like then put their attachment, even if they can't 3D scan their attachments, they can just like make their own thing, whether it's wax or they 3D model it, and just like be able to customize it however they like. But because the actual model has like areas for those magnets to go, it makes it like super easy for them to plan like where they want to add stuff. And then maybe he'll just like, maybe all my sculpts will have magnets in them so that one day I can just like combine them all into one gigantic sculpture. Magnetic wax. I thought about that. I thought about there's like magnetic powder that you can like add. I was like, would that work? I don't know. And I can make like magnetic wax. And then like ferrofluid. I think if you search up ferrofluid on YouTube, you see all these videos of people playing with this stuff. The only problem is I think I know why it wouldn't work. I think that stuff has like, because the thing about metal is that metal is usually, in my experience, it's a polar compound or polar has its polarity. It's polar, meaning the way the molecules are arranged. And I'm sorry if I'm explaining this wrong, but the way the molecules are arranged, it's asymmetrical. So you have like positive and negatively charged particles, and it's like you have like a plus and a minus on one side. So it's like a magnet, right? Like a magnet. You can think of a magnet as like a polar compound. And then something asymmetrical would be like not magnetic at all. Because it has like pluses on the outside and negatives on the inside, or vice versa. But basically it's like an asymmetric, I mean it's a symmetrical organization of particles. So like it has no charge, basically. It's like in a neutral state. And so it doesn't really combine with something that has a polar state where it can either be more positive or more negative. And I think ferrofluids are basically metal. Metal is more polar, so it wouldn't bind with the wax, which is non-polar. Wax is like oil, and oil and water don't mix because oil is non-polar and water is polar. I know I'm throwing a bunch of terms and I don't fully understand everything about them. I just know like the basics. And I don't even know why I'm explaining this right now. I think it's just the way my mind works at like midnight. But yeah, I think that's the only issue I'd run into trying to combine that stuff with wax. But maybe there's another way. He could eat hot dogs. He totally could eat hot dogs. Hats, fishes, boat, anything he could have stick to him. Oh, this is starting to sound like Katamari, which is actually one of the few like games I played in the past, and that was really fun. So he'll be like a Katamari pufferfish. Actually, that's a great idea for a toy. See, like, I started this stream with just the idea of a pufferfish. And within 2 days, we've already figured out a way to make this an actual toy that people could actually like have their own attachments and combine with it. Like, how interesting is that? And this is probably how they do it at like the big toy companies. There's just like a bunch of people in a room just like, how do we make this fun? Um, okay, that's actually a really great idea. I really like that idea. Actually, yeah, he's gotten a lot better. Like if I look at like yesterday's stream, I look at like a clip from that. Just want to compare. Oh, I'm looking at the thumbnail for this live stream. It looks ridiculous. It's like, what the heck? Yeah, wow, look at, he's changed a lot since yesterday. I keep saying he, it could be a she. Or a they. Or who knows. But yeah, it's still very rough, but it's fine because you see the problem is when you try to add too much detail in the beginning and then you decide you want to completely change the whole thing, then you got to erase all that detail anyway. So it's good that we're here figuring things out. Thanks, I'm glad my explanation was somewhat uh viable. Anyway, okay, I think I'm gonna end it here tonight, but thank you all again for being here. Um, Sorry, I didn't see your. Let me just quickly scroll up and see everyone's comments. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Wow, this is great. Like, I love that you guys are just like talking to each other as well, just like engaging. Yeah, yeah, Jacob. Thanks for joining. Yeah, just do what makes you happiest in the moment. I think that's a good way to live life. Um, and honestly, like, this really is something that I really enjoy right now. And I'm really glad I'm able to share this with you guys. So thank you for being here. Thank you. I'm gonna try to stream like, if not every night, like every other night or so. Um, Probably my schedule will be like Monday and Wednesday nights and Friday nights. Let's say Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at least. And I'll try to stream a little bit earlier so that people on the East Coast don't have to stay up late with me. But again, this is all recorded, so you guys can always catch the stream at a later time. But it's really great to have you guys here in real time, helping me figure out this stuff. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, I'm gonna head out. Good night, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you again.